Good morning, everyone. I see a few people trickling in. It looks like we have a good number of people in the room this morning. Thank you all for joining us for our second virtual citywide Bridging the Gap to Success event. Please feel free to introduce yourselves, put your names in the chat. This is a virtual networking session, so we definitely want to acknowledge you. Next slide. So on behalf of the Division of Small Business Opportunity, better known as DSBO, and our director, Adrena Gibson, I'd like to welcome you all. My name is Gloria Owusu, and I am the Outreach Administrator for DSBO. And my co-moderator for today's event is Crystal Swain, Senior Director of Business Management Services at Denver International Airport, better known as DEN. Next slide. Our Q&A monitors for today are Ellie Bacon, Assistant Director of Certification and Capacity Building for DSBO, and Tanya Davis, Assistant Director of Construction Diversity at DEN Commerce Hub. Before we begin, I'd like to share a few housekeeping items. Next slide. All attendees are muted for the duration of this event and can only participate through the live Q&A function. If you experience any technical difficulties, please exit and re-enter the event. There is a 15 to 20 second delay on this live event, and it is being recorded. And so attendees will receive this presentation and any additional handouts after the meeting. Next slide. We have included instructions on how to ask a question in the live Q&A box and how to utilize the closed caption. If you would like to ask a question to one of our panelists, please submit that via the Q&A box. And when you submit your question, please be sure to include the name of the panelist that you're directing your question to. Our Q&A monitors will be asking your questions to our panelists. Next slide. For those of you who are new to Bridging the Gap, the purpose of these quarterly events is to ensure that our small business community can connect directly with our city agencies to find out about upcoming opportunities. This event seeks to build a new era of collaboration with our agency partners. We look forward to really working with all of you. I want to say a special thank you to Andrea Mosby, who's the owner of Urine Fresh and chair of our CEI Capacity Building Subcommittee, and then Cecilia Rivas de Sherman with General Service Purchasing, who started these events about a year ago, and they've been a huge success. So thank you to both of you. Next slide. So an overview of today's event, all registered attendees should have received a listing of all first quarter solicitations via email yesterday. For those of you who did not receive the packet, we will put it in the Q&A box. Within your solicitation packet, you will also find links to all of the virtual networking rooms. Before the networking begins, you will be hearing from all of our agencies who will be giving you a brief update on their agencies. Today, we will be hearing from 3 fantastic business owners who have been successful in working on city projects, particularly at DEN. Additionally, each of our panelists will also have their own virtual networking rooms. So if we don't get to all of your questions, I encourage you to just jump into their virtual networking rooms and follow up with them. So now I will pass it off to Crystal Swain, who will be introducing each of our panelists. Crystal.
Thank you, Gloria, and good morning, everyone. On behalf of Denver International Airport, I would like to welcome you to this quarter's Bridging the Gap event. I want to give a special thank you to our 3 panelists who have taken time out of their busy schedules to share their keys to success with us this morning. DEN continues to be committed to working with small, minority, and women-owned businesses and sharing information about our upcoming opportunities. Our team is looking forward to engaging with you in our networking session immediately following this panel session. And now I would like to introduce to you our first panelist, Mr. Moa Haile. Moa Haile is president of Sky Blue Builders. Moa founded Sky Blue Builders in 2007 and has guided the company from a 2-man team and $80,000 in revenue to performing large projects for Fortune 500 companies and government agencies. Sky Blue Builders' main office is in Denver, Colorado, and they have a second office in Albuquerque, New Mexico. As president, MOA has an integral role in creating and developing customer relationships that deliver the company's products and services. MOA has responsibility for the overall success of the organization, strategic planning, enforcing a culture of innovation, and community and support of the management team. MOA was selected as the Minority Business Person of the Year in 2012 and CEO of the Year finalist in 2015 by Colorado Biz Magazine. Thank you, MOA, for being here this morning.
Thank you, Crystal and Gloria. I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to be part of this event, Bridging the Gap event. As I shared in my biography and what Crystal mentioned, we have been around since 2007. We've been doing a lot of work at the airport since 2010. And as any startup, any small business, you go through a lot of challenges and you have to overcome a lot of that type of issues that might come up. And I just wanted to share with you, our keys to success as far as working specifically at the airport. So we started, like I said, in 2010. Initially, it was around 2008, 2009, I went to a den event. And one of the things I heard was, hey, it's the den way or the highway. And it's for good reason. I don't mean that in a negative way. It's a very secure, highly secure area. And so it's not like doing construction off-site. So my number one key to success is first, you have to understand the airport. If you don't, you will most likely lose money. And I say that because of the security, the logistics, insurance requirements, the hours of operation. There's a lot of things that go into working at the airport. So number one is understand the den way. And again, is for the right reasons. This is a very secure facility. Two, utilize your MWBE and SBE certifications the right way. And by that, I mean, don't chase the big shiny projects. If you're just starting out, there's many other projects at the airport. So I highly encourage you start with the projects that aren't in the $300, $400, $500 million that you see. There's plenty of other opportunities. So encourage you to start on smaller projects. Look at the SB defined pool projects. There are some opportunities at the airport. Again, you want to start small to make sure you understand how to work at the airport. Engage larger MWBE firms, whether it's Sky Blue Builders, Gilmore Construction, St. Andrews, Servitech. There are plenty of MWBE firms that are out there that can support you. And again, focus on learning how to work at the airport. And then lastly, this one's a more general one, not specific to the airport, but utilize the City of Denver's Mentor Protege program. We started that when it first came up in 2016, and we renewed it again just last year. And again, the idea with the Mentor Protege is to help you with your overall business. And if you do a Mentor Protege with a firm that's already working out there at the airport, that's only going to help you get better. So those are my three keys to success. With that, I'll pass it back to you, Crystal.
Thank you, Moa. Our next panelist is Miss Lacey Getz. Lacey Getz has over 30 years of experience in a wide variety of structural projects. She founded Integral Engineering Company in 2008 and has created a highly successful, diverse, and family-first business model. Lacey serves as principal in charge, and her project portfolio includes DEN's Great Hall Completion Project, the National Western Center Stockyard Event Center, Denver Union Station, and T-Rex. She is passionate about encouraging diversity and supporting small businesses in Colorado, and has served as the chair of the city's Construction Empowerment Initiative's Disparity Study Ordinance Review Subcommittee. She was born and raised in Colorado, and attending both CU Boulder and CSU Fort Collins, obtaining a BS in Civil Engineering and an MS in Agricultural Engineering. Thank you, Lacey, for being here with us this morning.
Thank you very much, Crystal, and I very much appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all today. As noted in my bio, I've worked in the structural engineering field for over 30 years, and I've run my own firm for over 12 years. I've been active in the public sector for 11 of those 12 years, and I've completed numerous city and county of Denver projects, several of which were at DEN, and our first DEN project was in 2013. So I do have, next slide, please. So I have just some slideshows. As we were preparing for this presentation, we were asked to provide 3 of our keys to success, and mine are somewhat similar to Moa's. Next slide, please. Thing you need to know at DEN is that everything, as Moa said, is done the DEN way. The best part about it, though, is DEN has it all documented. They have this design standards manual, and just to be clear, I'm coming at this from a professional services standpoint. Moa is doing the construction standpoint, but from the professional services standpoint, they have everything highly documented. This is the picture of the cover of the design standards manual. Next slide, please. And this is a picture of the drafting BIM standards manual. You need to know these if you're going to be successful at the airport. They conduct, DEN conducts regular audits. You will have to have a complete BIM model, and they will audit that and make sure that you're meeting their high standards, which is really crucial. Making sure that they have consistent documentation, consistent drawings as they move forward, because they won't necessarily use you the next time, and they need to make sure that your drawings are usable by the next company that steps in to do work out at DEN. Next slide. The second key to success that I have is similar again to Moa's, which is start small and then get bigger. You can't eat a whole turkey at once. You have to carve it up into small steps, small bites to swallow it. And this is really important. There are a lot of small projects. Our very first project out there was we worked on the emergency stairs, which was really small project, but it got me to know people out at DEN and how DEN worked. And that's where I learned that they have all these specialized standards that are theirs. And there are a lot of people who have been out there who are willing to turn around and help you up. That's one of the things that I love about this community, is that people are really friendly. They want you to succeed. So take advantage of those relationships. Take advantage of someone who's been out there and done that. And you'll find, especially with the successful MWBEs, they're looking for every way they can to turn around and help their fellow businesses succeed out at DEN also. Next slide, please. And the final key to success that I have is you need to be detail oriented. DEN looks at everything, which is wonderful, but it can be difficult if you're not accustomed to it. So invoicing can be especially difficult out at DEN because they go through everything with a fine-tooth comb, as they should, because they're spending my money as well as yours. So when you're doing your invoicing, you need to know what you're doing. You need to have a narrative description of the work that you completed in that pay period, detailed delineation of all your hours, and that has to be documented, and a spreadsheet indicating the budget used and the budget remaining. And finally, next slide, please. My last key is really you need to hire if you don't know what you're doing. In other words, someone once gave me a piece of advice that says, hire for your weaknesses. So you need to know what you're weak at, and then hire someone who's strong in that. Also, reach out for help. Get help. I can't tell you again that there are people all over in the city and county of Denver who are there specifically to help you. They want you to succeed. You just need to ask, and then you find out what questions you need to ask, and they'll direct you to the right people. DEN Commerce Hub, which is located in the airport, is a wonderful resource as well. And I think that does it for me. Thank you very much. I hope you are all very successful.
Thank you, Lacey. Our final panelist is Mr. Richard Wayne. In 1982, Richard Wayne started and managed his own janitorial business, oftentimes providing custodial services by himself or with the help of family members. Since then, Wayne Enterprise Incorporated has grown to a multi-million-dollar operation and has expanded to 3 states with over 200 employees. Wayne Enterprises was recently awarded the Supplier of the Year Award for efforts to support the needs of Denver International Airport. Richard Wayne has been very active in the minority and small business community. He has served as the chairman of the Mountain Plains chapter of the National Minority Supplier Development Council, or NMSDC. He has worked closely with the City and County of Denver as they develop their new ordinance for minority and small business participation in city projects. Thank you, Richard, for being with us this morning.
Thank you very much. What I have to add to everyone else's talks, the other two panelists, is that relationships is one of the most important things that you have to have. And those relationships are within your industry as well as whom you're trying to do business with. Because if you don't have those relationships, you don't know how to guide your company in the way that it needs to go. So based on all those issues, I think relationships are very, very important, as well as know your your industry by using trade lost my train of thought there because I'm trying to figure out what is most important. But if you use your trade industry organizations, you get a lot of information from those that will give you a heads up on where all the industry trends are going. So based on that, I think that one of the things is to have a definition of what your business is going to look like, not today, but in the future, because everything moves as the economic trends go. So therefore, you need to stay on top of all those things so that you know whom you're dealing with and why you're dealing in that industry space. My first job with the City and County of Denver was the old DA's office back in '82. And that was an experience because I came to Denver in '81 and just, started to do some business on my own because I thought that I can fill a space, and come to find out that the way that you do business with the City County of Denver and Den is to know who's in those spaces and where they're heading. So therefore, what happened in that, I tend to have the relationships built in that space that I wanted to be in. And when the new airport was being built, I was trying to figure out, how do I get in? And how did you get in? You had to have, relationships. And so basically what happened in that instance, when the airport opened, we were in the right place at the right time with the right general contractor to start at the airport when it opened. So I've been out at the airport since it's opened. I'm still out there now. And like I say, I hope to be there in the future. However, like I say, if you don't know what if you don't know what your space entails and the relationships that you need to stay in that space, then you won't find yourself in some hard ways to go. So based on that, knowing that the success is based upon you being able to get at the end those things that you have quantified as your goals. So the whole thing is not the success, but have you met the goals that you're looking to reach? So therefore, based upon all those issues, I think that it is imperative that you build your relationships. That's it.
Well, thank you, Richard, and thank you to all the panelists for sharing your keys to success. I found it very insightful, and I appreciate all the work that you have done over the years to support DEN. Now I'll pass it back to Gloria so she can begin the Q&A process.
Thank you, Crystal, and thank you to our panelists. You guys definitely had some great keys to success, and I hope you in the audience were taking note on some of the important things that they highlighted. And I encourage you to please ask them any questions. The Q&A box is open, and I'll start it off to all three of you, starting out with Lacey, and then Moa, and then Richard. So we all know that COVID has had a tremendous impact on the small business community in various industries. And so can you each share a little bit about how your company has been impacted and what has been the biggest adjustment you have had to make?
Well, I did prepare something for this because you gave us a heads up that this would be asked. And Integral Engineering was founded as a virtual company. So we were already working remotely. We were able to accommodate the COVID restrictions fairly seamlessly. However, that doesn't help anybody who's listening here to know that, hey, we did it, and it was easy. So I wanted to share some of the tools that we use on a regular basis to help us work collaboratively, yet remotely and safely. Free things that you can use are Google Drive that lets you work on spreadsheets. A couple people can work on those at the same time, as well as collaboration on not Word documents, Google documents, but just documents and not spreadsheets. And that is a free service that you can get with Google. We also use Google Gmail Suite for chats and texting back and forth, keeps us in connection. Something else that you'll need to have, which isn't necessarily free, is a program that you can look at documents, specifically drawings. The industry tends to lean toward Bluebeam Review. Again, this one is not free, but it is highly recommended. Everybody in the industry uses Bluebeam. I shouldn't say everybody, most of the larger firms do. Adobe can get you there if you have that already, but again, you need something that you can share, drawings in particularly, and work remotely and mark them up and do red lines and that kind of thing. You also have a process to do those and make that clear to your employees. The other things that we do that help us work collaboratively in these times or remotely in these times of COVID is Active Collab, which is a project management software. But what we really use it for is people can log their hours remotely. So it serves not only as a project management tool, but a budgeting tool and a time tracker tool. So and that one is not free either, but it's relatively low cost. And if you don't use Active Collab, you do need something to help your employees keep track of the projects and where everyone else is. And finally, the last one I recommend, and I can't recommend highly enough, and you're using it right now, is Microsoft Teams. We use that on a daily basis. As we actually sometimes even just have it on in the background and kind of work together, but parallel play as your kids will do. Microsoft Teams is a really important tool. Again, these are all tools that help you work remotely, staying safe, yet still maintain your productivity. So there are some others, specifically if you're doing work for bigger companies, you'll need to be on BIM 360, which lets you share 3D models. So again, those are things that we have in place that help us work remotely and be successful. That's it.
Thanks, Lacey. For us, from a construction perspective, I guess for my first point would be what Lacey mentioned in terms of innovation and technology, is that if you're not already on the cloud, you should be in the cloud by now, right? These kind of things, as far as pandemics happening, you can't really prepare for that. But your network, your systems, and your all the tools that you use should be in the cloud. And SkyBlue, fortunately, we've been in the cloud for a long time, so our employees can work from anywhere and access the information that they need, whether it's the software or documents, etc. So highly encourage that all your information should be on the cloud and not sitting in some server in your office. Secondly, from a field perspective, it's definitely impacted us. We actually had a couple of private sector contracts get canceled, and the production obviously has slowed down. That is due to numerous precautions that we have to take with masks, PPEs, taking temperature checks, et cetera. And so we have to be extra diligent about that. And so we've seen the slowness in production a little bit, but again, you just have to adjust. There's nothing you can do otherwise. And then I had a third point, and I can't recall what that was. Yeah, I think those two have been part of the adjustments that we've had to make as a small business.
Okay, for our company, our employees are essential because if you don't have a clean environment to work in, then that means that you have to stop all your operations. So therefore, we had to get up to speed on a lot of the CDC regulations, as well as being informed on the operation in which you are housed in, because we're in several different airports, so everyone has a different protocol in which you have to obtain. So that's affords to us the ability to use our expertise in this space of custodial and janitorial, because at a moment's notice, you get a call that they have changed their protocol and what they need to do. Not only do you have to write a new protocol for it, but you also would have to implement it. And so therefore, you have to keep your employees safe, and in this space of the pandemic in which we're in right now, which you have to have your PPEs in place. And if you have to go outside that to afford them more safety as well as the general public, then that's something that is a little challenging for us. But we've been able to ascertain as much as we can through all the other industries which support us, and give the client what they need to keep operating under these conditions.
Golia, I just remembered my third point as soon as Richard said people is culture. We've seen that impact for sure. We've hired quite a few people this year, and as a company on a quarterly basis, we make a point for all of us to get together and reinforce the culture of the company. And so that's one thing that I think not only just Sky Blue, but a lot of businesses need to get back in 2021, is to focus on culture and bringing the groups and the team back together to make sure that the company's mission and values, et cetera, and the culture of the firm are reinforced again. And so that was one of the, I think, bigger issues for any company, not just us, again, is the culture piece that's been missing due to COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point, Moa. It's been an adjustment for so many people working in different industries, and making sure that everybody comes back together and is can share the same vision and mission of your companies is critically important. So thanks for sharing that. I see that there's a few live Q&A, so I'm going to hand it off to our first Q&A moderator, Ellie Bacon, to ask the first question. Ellie?
Sorry, Gloria, I was on mute. So the first question is, how do you research so that you can connect with the specific individuals for building relationships?
I'll take that one on. This is Lacey, and my answer to that is you just ask. Who do I need to talk to? You go to every open networking business or open networking outreach that on many city and county of Denver projects, especially out at Den, people who want to bid on this project or who want to provide a proposal have to hold outreach events, and just go up and talk to the speaker and say, this is the work I do. Who do I need to talk to get on your team? Or even DSBO will often have a sense for who does what kind of work. So my answer to that is just ask, and you'll be directed to where you need to go.
Great. Richard, do you want to answer that as well?
Yes, in our space, you must also go outside the traditional forms in which, like we're producing right now, in your trade groups of the industry that you're in, because most of the people that come in that are going to do business with Den that are larger than you are, you need to know who they are. So that means that you have to do some outside research and outside networking in order to be successful in partnering with those people when they come in. Those companies are looking for good MWBEs, and therefore, if they know who you are, then they're more apt to talk to you when they come in town. And so therefore, you need to reach out into those spaces in which are extra than what we have here in the Denver metro area.
Great, thank you. Tanya, did you want to ask one of the questions?
Yes, I'll ask the next one, and this may have already been answered, but it's directed to Moa. How has COVID-19 affected your business, and what are you doing to recover? Is there any more that you'd like to add?
Moa, is Moa still with us here? It looks like he may have dropped off.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and ask another question.
The next one's for Moa, but I'll ask this one. Hello, Gloria. This is Talia Bond, consultant with the MBO Minority Business Office and small business owner myself. On behalf of my clients and question to the panelists, please share any best practices about presenting and preparing for an RFP. My clients usually have this challenge since they are new. They don't know how to do an RFP. What did you do way back when you started?
Lacey, do you want to take that first question?
Sure, I'll take that one
Right.
since Moa has dropped off. So what I highly recommend is you go through the request for proposal line item by line item. Some of them are very specific in how they want you to handle it, but and they give you explicit directions. Follow those to the T. I think one of the biggest challenges, or one of the things that you're trying to answer in the preparation of your RFP, is, can you even follow directions? So I think it's absolutely critical that you read the request for proposal very, very carefully, and that you answer it exactly in the order that they have it. And if it looks like two questions are very similar, don't discount it, because they've probably come from different people and they have a different bent or a different a particular item that they're trying to get to. So I would say go through the RFP line by line, be very detailed, make sure there are no mistakes in your proposals, and make sure that you've answered every question. Even if it seems like they're being repeated, do not repeat your answer. They're looking for something different if they answer it twice. And that, I guess that's about the best I can do there.
Great, thank you. Richard, do you want to answer that as well?
Yes, based on that question, I think that what you need to do is you need to explore other proposals that are of like. And that means that you would have to know other people that have done those type of proposals, so that you can get a feel of those things that you need to answer and come up with, as well as sometimes you can go online and get a sample proposal of the same like, and therefore develop your own proposal in which you're going to present to the offering customer.
Great, thank you. Moa?
Sorry about that. As I talk about innovation and technology and being prepared, our internet goes down in our office. So that was a nice joke on me. And I apologize, Gloria, if you don't mind, can you repeat that question for me?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me see if I can pull that one up. So this Talia Bond she's asking for you to please share any best practices about presenting and preparing an RFP. My clients usually have this challenge since they are new. They don't know how to do an RFP. What did you do way back when you started?
Sure, that's a great question. Obviously, we part of our goal as a company is to do a lot of on-call type of contracts that are longer term, and those are really extensive RFPs. And so you have to be prepared to really spend thousands of dollars in terms of hours you're going to spend writing the RFP. Make sure you address each and every question. Make sure you have the project experience they're looking for, the personnel. And so it's not just about, hey, how do I write this RFP, but you have to make sure that you're meeting the requirements of the RFP. There's a lot of graphics involved in terms of how you're packaging that. So if you don't have an internal person who is an RFP writer or can put a good proposal together for you, please let me know. I know plenty of external resources that can help you package a good RFP. And again, specifically to the airport, they do have quite a bit of opportunities. And so again, having that experience, depending on who the client is very critical. But when we started, we did it internally, and over time, you start building a portfolio of items to address in an RFP, whether it's around safety, project experience, technical approaches. And so it gets a bit easier each time you do it once you've done the first one.
Great, thank you. Ellie, do you want to ask another question?
Sure, I would be happy to.
Thank you.
So since Moa is back, let me scroll to the top. So Dave asked to Moa, how is COVID-19 affected your business and what are you doing to recover?
Good question. Yes. So construction is always lagging when an economic impact happens, right? And so we tend to get a project and it takes us months or years to get it completed. And so we're good for the short duration, but we know it's coming. And so 2020 wasn't a huge impact. We did have a couple of projects in the private sector side that did get canceled. Again, our production has slowed due to safety, which is absolutely necessary. And so whether it's, the PPE, the sanitizers, the face masks, staying 6 feet in distance when you're doing construction. So production has slowed. But we're also have been looking at 2021 and 22 to make sure that as construction is going to be hit, we know it will, we're looking at opportunities where we know typically when these kind of things happen, whether it's the federal government or public agencies, usually come to mitigate that risk that is happening from a private sector side. And so we're preparing and looking at opportunities heavily in the public sector. We know the city of Denver has the Elevate bond that they're going to be pushing out a lot more projects. We know the federal government's been talking about pushing a lot of federal projects as well. And so we're preparing, not necessarily more on the private, but definitely on the public sector side to chase some projects on that side of it. But COVID's here and we know we're not immune to it. And so we just have to be strategic about those opportunities as they come up.
Great, thank you, Moa. I'll hand it back to Tanya to ask another question.
Okay, this next question is to Moa as well. How did you scale up from 80,000 to where you are? And how did you define capacity as you scaled?
Good question. So I would say, you have to persevere and you have to accept a lot of no's and get some yeses in between there. And so, I mean, in 2009, we did about $180,000 in revenue. We had only 3 or 4 people in the company. And so it was very deliberate. So you have to have, your business plan, et cetera. You have to create your portfolio. You have to get that credibility. And so you have to slowly build up the company. And along the way, you're going to have challenges. And we weren't immune to it. I can tell you myself and my business partner have had to dip back into our refinancing a house or, put some more money back into the business. And understand that it's really a marathon. It's not a sprint. So for the first 7 years of the company's history, everything was reinvested into the business because it requires your systems, your processes, and you have to have the right people on the bus. And so it's really reinvesting in the company, persevere. You're going to have a lot of tough times, and scaling the right way. And so if you grow too fast, you're going to have some big issues, and we experienced that. So from 2009 to 2015, as I mentioned, we did about $180,000 of revenue. In 2015, we did $15 million in revenue. And so that was a big issue because we saw that the foundation wasn't built the right way. And so we experienced a lot of problems in 2015 and 16. And so we slowed down the company and went from 15 million to 8 million that next year because we could see the writing on the wall. Growing too fast is not a good thing. So you don't make that mistake and just deliberately grow slowly and responsibly, and make sure you reinvest any money that you make back into the business, which I know is very tough to do, especially when you're not making that much money, but it's a really critical step in reinvesting in the business for longer term success.
Great, thank you, Moa. Ellie, can you ask the next question, please?
Sure. So Moa, this is for you as well. It says, we are a small business, women-owned enterprise certified in the city of Denver with our primary location in Arizona. We are a fabricator and metal supplier. How are ways we could work with you and other large subs that you mentioned? What approach would you advise?
Good question. I would, encourage you to, reach out to me. A lot of, also some of the more, successful MWB firms, which you see right here, as far as Lacey and Richard, to really learn how the process works here in Colorado with the city of Denver. We've all experienced, again, the challenges and risks and the different agencies, and we could tell you, even from a federal perspective, which clients it makes most sense for you to pursue, so that you're not recreating the wheel, right? That you can have that support that you need from other MWBE firms. I would also highly encourage reaching out to City of Denver staff in terms of the business liaisons like Marsha Nelson with Dottie, as well as Den. But we can help you navigate that, especially if you're new to the market. So you've got 3 people here on the panel that you can certainly reach out to, and we will be more than happy to help you.
Okay, back to Tanya.
Okay, this question is for all. How has COVID changed your outlook and approach to marketing, business development, and relationship building?
Lacey, do you want to take that one first?
Sure, I'll take that one.
Thanks.
I have to say right now it's been exceptionally tough. Prior to COVID, one of my main jobs was to get out there and go to a ton of meetings and meet people and talk with them. And post-COVID, you just don't do that anymore. And I have to be straightforward and say we are really struggling. I can see that our 2020 numbers are off from the year before, and I can see that they're probably going to drop more in 2021, specifically due to this lack of marketing. I have started, or am going to start, a new program whereby I'm going to try and teams people on a more regular basis. I find that when I meet with large groups of people, it doesn't provide the same level of intimacy, if you will, where you can really get to know someone. So that's my new item going forward is to try and connect one-on-one with important people. And again, identifying those people is always difficult, but ask, if you're not the right person for me to be talking to, who is? And typically you will find, especially larger firms, if you're a small one and you're trying to get work in some of the den sphere, ask the larger firms. They're always looking for smaller MWBE partners so they can help direct you. I hope that helps.
Great, thank you. Richard, do you want to chime in on that one as well?
Yes, based upon the question that was asked, we actually have increased our productivity as well as our revenues. And that's only because of all the nuances with this COVID and what is needed to keep not only our public safe, but the airports themselves, as well as all of the other spaces that you have as far as those that have essential workers in them. And so therefore, we're not challenged with that. However, to keep employees, that's what the challenging part is, because of the fear of what has been challenging throughout these past few months, that if I get it, then who's going to take care of me? So that's why it's very important for us in this space and being essential to those businesses as well as to the airports themselves, is to stay on top of those things that will keep everyone in a safe environment.
Great, thank you, Richard. I believe it's Tanya next to ask the question.
To each of you, who did you mentor with and what did that look like? What was your revenue and number of employees when you began your mentoring relationship?
I'd like to take that first. Moa?
Sure. I am a huge believer in mentoring, whether it's for your business or you or personally. For us, it really began in 2010 with Saunders Construction, and each of the owners, executives of the company had a mentor from that company. And fast forward to 2016, where we started mentoring with Hensel Phelps. And again, it goes through all the levels of the business, from the owners, executives, all the way down to the project managers. And so it's a very critical process, I think, is to go through mentoring. So in 2016, we did, we had, I don't know, around maybe 20, 25 employees. Currently, we're at about 50 employees. And part of that mentoring is to make sure you're thinking about things the right way, opportunities, your back office support systems and processes to make sure you're growing the right way and being able to support your clients. And so it's been very beneficial for Sky Blue Builders. I can tell you the city's program, since they started in 2016, has, every year gotten better and better. And so we ourselves are mentoring an MWBE firm now. So giving back to how that helped us and reaching out and making sure that others are given that same opportunity. So I can't stress how important having a mentor is. And even if you reach out to a CEO or an executive, if you just pick up the phone, they're more than happy to do that. Denver, I think, is very unique from that perspective. We're all about helping each other. And so mentoring has been a critical part of our success.
Thank you, Moa. Lacey, Richard, would you like to chime in on that question as well?
Yes, the startup of this company was a splinter off of another minority company in which I was working for and worked for about 12 years. And we were, our space was hospitals. So that's where I got my first start at, in executive hospital space. And so therefore, that company mentored me through that that situation, and so therefore, when I started this company that we have now, that's what we look for, people to start giving us advice on, what space we should be in, how we should be performing it, and through that whole process, whatever it was that we learned, and someone that was coming up in the spaces in which we were in, that if they asked us to help, then we would help them navigate through all those issues that gave us a problem, and try to help them not have that same problem in developing their companies. So we have always given back to the smaller minority and women-owned companies that have come up, especially in the Denver space, because this one is pretty unique because there's a lot of people in it and there's a lot of companies in it. And so therefore, there's a lot of opportunities that can be had, but you need to have the right people to go to and find out how to navigate in whatever space it is that you're in.
Thank you. And Lacey?
We have not ever actually participated in a formal mentoring program, but we have worked closely with another structural engineering firm who has essentially functioned as a mentor for us, and provides a great deal of guidance with regard to planning and laying out how our resources are to be utilized and that sort of thing. I would recommend, again, reach out to the city agencies. They always have someplace to go. And there's also a place called Mi Casa, which is funded by the city, that provides business classes on how to run your business. Because for me, that was one of the more difficult parts. I knew how to do structural engineering, but running a business is completely different from doing what your trade is. And so I recommend that you reach out to resources such as Mi Casa Learning Center and learn those kinds of aspects as opposed to just knowing your trade. That's it. Thanks.
Great. And we'll throw it back to Ellie for another question.
So this is to everyone. It says, thank you all for all this great information. Is there a mentor protege program that is in the lighting contracting or electrical contracting arena that you all know of?
I think, I think Gloria, or maybe the city can answer this question better, but I don't think the city's mentor protege program is limited to any type of a trade, as long as it's construction related. So I think you could utilize the City of Denver's mentor protege program, and I would even encourage you to. It doesn't have to be as formal as that, but even calling again some of these other large electrical companies and really just asking them to mentor you. You'd be surprised to find that they would help you out in that case. But if you are looking for something more formal, and again, I don't want to speak for the city, but I don't think it's limited to any trades or anything. It's available for all in the construction industry.
Yeah, I would echo what you said, Moa. The citywide mentor protege program is for all industries. There is an application process. The city does not pair firms together. They have to come into the program together and fill out one joint application. So if you want more information on that program, feel free to reach out to me or see me in the networking room, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about it. With that, we'll go to Tanya for another question.
Okay, this one may be for the city panelists. Says this is probably a general question for the city, not one of these panelists. Does the city hire local small businesses like mine to provide employee, team, leadership development training? So Gloria or Ellie, I'm not sure if you know of any
Yeah, I mean, and I would want to know if you are a certified firm. And that's why we're hosting this event today, because you have that list of solicitations that can help you identify which agencies may have an opportunity for what you're looking for. So it just depends on, when we have multiple agencies that might have that specific kind of need. So I would encourage you to jump into one of the purchasing office's networking rooms and ask that question. Okay, and then I believe we have time for one more question. Ellie, do you want to ask the last question, please?
Sure. So I'm actually going to combine a couple of them because they all are along the similar lines. But the question for all of the panelists is it's twofold. So with social events, lunches, etc., off the table, how are you maintaining established relationships and fostering new relationships this year? And which platforms are you utilizing to network and put your company's names out there?
So I'll take this one head on. I have a person who's in charge of our quote unquote social media. We put things out on LinkedIn and Facebook for a company page, not a personal page. I have maintained active participation in my professional societies just to keep those contacts alive. When you ask about platforms, we use Microsoft Teams, and I try and get as much, face-to-face via virtual as I can. It's still difficult for us, and I'll let the others have their say.
Yeah, for us, it's been critical to maintain the existing relationships that we have, and so it's been a lot of, to be honest with you, Zoom meetings. If we know a client pretty well, then we'll do like a Zoom happy hour. Again, you lose that personal touch when you're just doing it over video, and if it's new clients that we're pursuing. Again, it's been we use Zoom, and that's the platform that we've been using for our business development activities. But we can't wait for 2021 because that's where the real business development happens, is having that personal interaction. Other than that, just like Lacey said, we've been doing social media, whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn, etc. But otherwise, it's been just strictly over Zoom.
Yes, what we are experiencing in the space that we're in, what we did was narrow down our space to only improve our revenues as well as our contact information, and that is that there is in the airport space, all airports are listed, and then as Den has done, they have also all the projects in which comes up for them throughout the year. So therefore, we are able to identify what's going to happen in each quarter. And then by identifying what's going to happen in each quarter, then we go off and start trying to partner up with other companies that we know that may try also to go after those particular RFPs. So what we've done is just narrowed everything down so that we have a concentrated information data system for our company to work within our space that we have in the airport industry.
Great, thank you so much, Richard. All right, well, we are going to conclude our panelist portion of the agenda, and Thank you to Moa, Lacey, and Richard for participating this morning and providing some great advice. As a reminder, I know we had a lot of questions in the Q&A box, so each of our panelists has their own virtual networking room. So I would encourage you all to just stop in there, introduce yourself, ask any of the questions that didn't get answered in this live session, and to continue your conversations with them because they do have a lot of great advice to offer. Okay, with that, we're going to kick off our city agency presentation. I am going to start us off with an overview of DSBO. There's my contact information. Next slide. So DSBO is a division under Denver Economic Development and Opportunity, also known as DEDO. So DEDO's vision is to lead an inclusive and innovative economy for all Denver residents, businesses, and neighborhoods. We are now in a very different place as we were a year or even 6 months ago, but one thing that has stayed the same is our focus on equity. So within DEDO, we have 5 major divisions. We have our business development, which focuses on supporting small businesses, entrepreneurs, and business recruitment and retention. We have our workforce development team, which connects job seekers to employment and training opportunities and connects employers to skilled talent pipeline. It also includes our Denver Construction Career Pilot Program. We have our global business development team that ensures that we stay competitive in foreign business marketing and strengthens our capacity to engage with global markets. Of course, we have DSBO, which I'll be speaking to. And then we have our neighborhood equity and stabilization team, also known as NEST, and they support neighborhoods experiencing significant changes in their neighborhoods and empowers people in those communities to speak up and advocate for themselves. So our team is on the boots on the ground doing a lot of outreach to communities that are being impacted, especially now with COVID. Next slide. So the Division of Small Business Opportunity works to be the bridge that promotes and improves the participation and engagement of small businesses through the creation and implementation of programs, thereby achieving an equitable Denver economy. Next slide. As we know, the city is comprised of various agencies and programs, and DSBO works primarily with 5 agencies listed there. We have DOTI, DPR, General Services, Arts and Venues, and DEN. You'll be hearing from them after my presentation, except for Arts and Venues. We also work with independent agencies, including Denver Health and the Denver Zoo, Denver Art Museum, and Botanical Gardens. So each of these agencies has their own teams, their projects, their budgets, and procurements. So when it comes to assessing goals and tracking small business utilization on contracts, we work closely with these agencies. So DSBO has 5 key program areas: our certification, outreach and capacity building, compliance, goals, and our defined selection pool program. Our certification team assists small businesses in obtaining the proper certifications to work on city projects. We have 6 different types of certification, from MWBE to ACDBE. And if you are in the audience and new to the city and county of Denver and are interested in learning more about certification, DSBO does host a monthly certification class to help you get familiar with the process of filling out the application. So the outreach and capacity building program is why we're here today. We put on outreach events with our city agency partners, and we want to inform the small business community about various opportunities coming down the pipeline. We host this quarterly Bridging the Gap event, and then we also host our monthly Construction Empowerment Initiative meetings that are held the last Tuesday of every month. And if you want to get on our distribution list, please jump into the DSBO networking room and give us your information so that you can get notifications on the next events. We also administer the citywide mentor protege program, which I did speak about a little bit earlier. And we'll also be launching a small business technical assistance program next year. When it comes to goals, DSBO assesses city projects that are funded with city dollars on city land for MWBE participation goals. We also assess DBE goals on federally funded projects. So the goals and goals types are established by looking at a number of factors, including the type of procurements, the scope of work, and also the number of certified firms, among other areas. Our compliance team then monitors small business utilization on city contracts that have MWBE goals. And then lastly, we have our defined selection pool program, which works to create prime contracting opportunities for certified SBEs and EBEs. So these types of projects are determined by DSBO in coordination with our agency partners like Dottie and DEN. So next slide. So I would encourage you to please stop by our DSBO virtual networking room at 10:30. I have members of the DSBO team that will be there to answer any questions. We have Valerie Yarborough with our certification team, and then Brittany Aaron with our compliance, and also myself to answer any questions that you may have about certification or outreach. Additionally, I want to mention that my colleague from our business development team in DIDO, Joanne Greek, is available to answer any questions you may have regarding small business grants, loans, tax credits, opportunity zone. She's a wealth of information, so I encourage you, if you have any questions, please stop by her networking room and ask any questions. Next, I will hand it back over to Crystal Swain to give an overview of DEN.
Thank you, Gloria. And again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with everyone once again today. As mentioned earlier this morning, my name is Crystal Swain, and I am the Senior Director of Business Management Services at DEN. I oversee all areas of procurement at DEN as part of my portfolio. Next slide. Most of you are familiar with the airport, but prior to COVID, we were the 20th busiest airport in the world and 5th busiest airport in the United States, with more than 69 million passengers passing through in 2019. Although our numbers are down in 2020, we continue to serve a significant number of passengers and have often been in the top 3 busiest airports in the United States since the beginning of the pandemic. All of this travel helps to generate more than $33.5 billion annually to the region. Next slide. Even though our passenger traffic is still down, we continue to procure a number of contracts at the airport. We currently have 6 professional services contracts forecasted on our website, along with 3 construction opportunities and 6 revenue opportunities. Although this is our current list, our opportunities remain dynamic, and I would encourage all of you to frequently check the flydenver.com website for updated opportunities. Based on internal discussions, we anticipate seeing a number of additional procurements being forecasted in Q1 and Q2 of next year, and would love the opportunity to discuss these with you in our networking room. Next slide. So to the end of how you can actually obtain our procurements, there's 2 links that I want to point out for each of you. The first is the link to our forecasted opportunities, where you can learn about upcoming projects up to 90 days prior to their official advertisement. Once a contract is ready to advertise, as of April, we began to advertise those using Rocky Mountain e-purchasing system, more commonly known as BidNet. You can register for free on this site or pay an annual membership for additional services. By registering with BidNet, you will have access to several city agency opportunities, as well as over 200 other government entities throughout the state of Colorado and Wyoming. Next slide. So immediately following all of these agency presentations, we'll be hosting a networking room with several key individuals from DEN. This includes representatives from DEN's Commerce Hub, the Contract Procurement Services team, which is responsible for procuring professional services, construction, and revenue contracts for the airport, as well as DEN's General Services Purchasing team, who is responsible for procuring goods and related services for DEN. In addition to these internal stakeholders, we are happy to be joined by representatives of 3 of our key contracts for concourse expansion and Great Hall projects, These representatives from Turner Flatiron, Holder FCI, and Hensel Phelps will be available to answer questions about upcoming opportunities they have within their projects. Next slide. So this slide includes contact information from all of the representatives that will be participating in the networking room in case you would like to follow up with anyone after today's session. We look forward to chatting with you later this morning. With that, I will turn it back to Gloria to introduce my other colleagues from around the city. Gloria?
Thank you, Crystal. Next up, we have Megan Alsop from Denver Parks and Recreation.
Good morning, everyone. So I am Megan Alsop, and I manage the contracts and procurement and accounting tech teams for DPR, also known as Denver Parks and Recreation. And next slide, please. Parks, recreation, and the urban forest are vital infrastructure to the city's health. And DPR's game plan for a healthy city provides a roadmap for our parks, recreation programs, and urban forest to serve the needs of all Denverites. And that game plan also includes long-term strategies to adapt to changing climate, diversify parks and recreation services, grow the park system and recreation access, and connect to Denver's nature and culture, and also reinvest in DPR resources such as partnerships. So the Department of Parks and Recreation has a variety of needs across a variety of divisions, and that includes golf, planning and design, maintenance, repairs, forestry, natural resources, and recreation. Next slide, please. So here's a list of DPR's anticipated Q1 2021 solicitations, and these are of course subject to change as department needs or timelines might change. So we have district management services in Skyline Park, a resiliency master plan, secret shopper services, and a few DPR projects that are anticipated to be procured through general services or DOTI, such as parking lot repairs, golf course restroom design, renovations at the urban farm, and a pool addition at Green Valley Ranch Rec Center. So please be sure to check BidNet for all DPR formal solicitations and opportunities. It's free to register, but if desired, you can opt to pay a fee in order to receive automatic notifications of opportunities you might be interested in and more optional services. And if need be, I'm happy to send interested companies instructions for how to get registered in BidNet. Next slide. So we have a few DPR prime contractors who will be joining us in DPR's networking session today to connect with subcontractors or suppliers, along with subject matter experts from some of the other DPR divisions. With that, I'll hand it over to Gloria.
Great, thank you, Megan. Next up, we have Marcia Nelson from the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. Marcia.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Gloria. As mentioned, Marcia Nelson with the Denver Department of Transportation and Initiatives. So welcome, everyone. Next slide. For those of you, some of you may know this already, some may not. As of January 1st of this year, the Denver Department of Public Works, which is who we were, we became the Denver Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. We go by DOTI, some people call us .I or DOTI. We prefer DOTI, but call what you want. Our mission as an agency is to enhance the quality of life in Denver by efficiently delivering effective, high quality, safe, and equitable public infrastructure and services. Next. So procurements, if you're interested in working on DOTI contracts, we do have a website. It's www.workfordenver.com. On that website, there's a number of ways to navigate how to find the procurements and whatnot, but we do make that available on the website. If you join us in our room, I'll be going over this in a little bit more detail, but the main thing to really understand is when you open this website, the first tab lists all of our active contracts where we're looking for RFPs or RFQs, and I believe right now we have 6 active ones. Next slide. We do have a hard copy available for our professional services and construction opportunities. That again is also available on the website, but I know some people like to have something in hand, and so we have a hard copy. We will be sharing that with DSBO to distribute to everyone who has attended today, and we will also make it available in our room later on this morning. Next. For networking opportunities, so DOTI has a monthly outreach event called Bagels in Business. And we host that on the first Friday of every month. We do welcome everyone, although it is targeted to our small minority women-owned businesses. We do find that many of our large businesses and medium businesses also attend, which I think is a really great way for all of us to network together to understand what we do as a business, what our primary scope of work is, and our interests, whether it be with the city or with another prime or with a small business. So this is the 2021 calendar. And again, it's the first Friday of every month. I think there's 2 dates in there. There's a conflict between a city furlough day as well as a holiday. So you can find us on Eventbrite. Just Google or search Bake Wilson Business, and it should pop up, and you'll be able to register for one of these dates. I will also add that these events are intended to be small in size, more intimate setting, so that everyone has an opportunity to network. We've all been to outreach events that are pretty massive in size, and we don't always get to talk to the people that we want to. So it is intentionally meant to be small. If one date that you can attend or would like to attend is not available, just shoot me a message and we'll be able to squeeze you in. Next. For any contacts, or some people have a few questions about navigating through our department, you're more than welcome to give me a call, text, or email. If you have questions about a specific procurement that's advertised on our website, you will need to send an email directly to pw.procurement@denvergov.org. And there's a few other contact informations like DSBO if you have questions about how to find a certified firm or how to become certified with the city and county of Denver. Next. And this is more an important notice that we want to share on behalf of the entire city. For those of you who may not know, hopefully you do know, earlier this year, the city did go through, DSB went through a new reauthorization of their ordinance. And part of that ordinance involved a new city prompt pay. And so the city, working together, all the agencies work together to figure out solutions on how we can better improve our process and how we pay our contractors, consultants, and vendors. And so we do have a training video that we've created and would love for all of you to take a look at. And so we do encourage each one of you, whether you've done business with the city or not, to watch this video. And I will also add that also share this video with the staff members within your company. Oftentimes information is not always trickled to the right people, and it's really important that the staff you have are aware of the improvements, processes, and changes and things we need from you as a contractor, consultant, or vendor, so that we can ensure we're all doing what we can do to ensure you're getting paid on time. The next slide. We'll just go over how to access this actual training. There is a link. So if you go to this link, which will be accessible through this, I believe everyone will get a copy of this. We'll have it in our room as well. But if you click this link, you'll be taken to a short questionnaire, very simple, name, company, and then you'll get an automatic email generated back to you with the actual link to the video training. So once you click that link, please view the training. And again, if you could please share that with your staff, it'd be much appreciated. And I think that's it for me.
Great, thank you, Marcia. Next up, we have Jane Fisher and Martell Dials with the Elevate Denver Bond Program.
Hi, Jane Fisher here, Elevate Denver Bond Program. Go ahead and go to the next slide. And I'm joined by Martell Dials, who is our small business and WBE coordinator. So I am the bond implementation plant manager recently hired by Dottie to facilitate implementation of the Elevate program. Just to orient you a bit, this was approved by the voters in 2017. It includes $937 million worth of projects that are located throughout the city. It is divided into 7 purposes. The largest of this being our transportation and mobility purpose. So the pie chart over on the left-hand side shows how that $937 million is divided. We also have purposes associated with cultural facilities, Denver Health and Hospitals, libraries, public facilities, etc. Takeaway is the projects are throughout our 11 council districts, and they really are intended to touch pretty much every neighborhood. We do have an NBE, WBE related goal, and that is identified here on the slide, which is to proactively identify opportunities for small business enterprise, minority, women-owned business enterprise participation, as well as for workforce development. So this is really intended to be an opportunity for folks like yourselves to engage in projects that will help build up the community that we all live and work in. So next slide. And a couple of these have been emphasized a couple of times already. These are specific to the Elevate program, and they're divided up into by quarter, and they also are divided up into construction and design opportunities. I heard the Parks folks already talk about Green Valley Ranch. That actually, the pool there is an Elevate funded project, so you will see it as an Elevate advertisement. 56th Avenue is currently bidding on the work4denver.com website. That's a very large design build project in the transportation space. It would be expected that general contractors are going to be looking for subcontractors like yourselves to participate. Some of the other projects here, I would say one of the other big ones here, Police District 5 is a relatively big project. Many of these are small though, and looking at deferred maintenance in the space of repaving curb and gutter, great place to begin to start to work with Dottie, because these are relatively small, pretty easy to kind of get your feet wet and begin to develop that relationship with the city, with Dottie, as we facilitate implementation of the program. We're going to also be in a room at, I believe it's 10:30, 10:45, in the event that anyone has more specific questions about Elevate projects. And I'll turn it back over.
Thank you, Jane. Next up, we have Lance J. with the Department of General Services Purchasing Division. Lance?
Good morning, everyone. First off, I want to thank Gloria, Cecilia, and Crystal for putting on a great event so far. I think all the speakers spoke very, very well about their organizations, and some folks gained some great information. Next slide, Gloria. My group oversees, as part of General Services, and oversees the purchasing of goods and services across the city. Encompasses approximately $700 million in goods and services. We do this through cooperative agreements, open market purchases, and really partnering with folks like DSBO and engaging with the small business community. Next slide. Two upcoming solicitations we have coming in the first quarter. One will be citywide swag items, which is marketing materials, promotional goods, those type of items. Elizabeth Hughes, one of our associate analysts, will have her room open here in the next 15 minutes, and you can talk to her more about that. The second larger one we have coming up is the boarding and security of buildings. As you know, with large civil unrest we've had in Denver in the last 10 months, this is going to be a very important one. This will be a defined pool procedure, which means only certified vendors are invited to bid on this. One of our senior buyers, Joe Furman, will be available in his chat room to speak more about this solicitation. Next slide. Overall, as some others have commented on about BidNet, this is where we post all of our solicitations, or formal solicitations that are over $50,000. This is where we strongly urge folks to be registered with the city through Gloria and Adrina's team with DSBO. In order to get some more information regarding upcoming solicitations, there will be a link available in the chat, and we urge you to answer those 4 questions, and we'll get you on the distribution list for those upcoming solicitation notifications. Next slide. Looking at some specific things we do in purchasing, or in general services purchasing, Cecilia Rivas de Sherman, who's one of our small business coordinators, conducts a 5 steps to doing business with the city every month. And it's more of a broad scope training where it gets folks doing the folks that are new to the city, which makes for goods and services, professional services, and construction are also discussed. The next training will be January the 12th. and there'll be a link in the chat section which you can register for that, as well as Cecilia's contact information. So if there's any questions regarding this introductory course, which is of no charge to those who want to participate, and strongly urge those folks that want to do business with the city that they go through this, because it really gives you some insight and tips into things like prompt pay and some other things that'll be very, very important when it comes to the not only the solicitation, the RFP, but also the contracting process. Next slide. And again, this will be Cecilia's contact information, and we'll post this in the chat. And we'll also post my information in the chat as well. And we can get you in touch with the correct folks within purchasing. But during the open house portion of this day, we'll have all 10 of my buyers have open chat rooms, so you can pop in and pop out and check out what solicitations or what areas they are responsible for across the city.
Great, thank you so much, Lance. Next up, we have Marcy Loughran with the Mayor's Office of the National Western.
Thanks, Gloria, and good morning, everybody. Again, my name is Marcy Loughran, and I'm here to give you an update on the National Western Center redevelopment. Next slide. We always like to start out with a little reminder about why we look different. As you can see, the PowerPoint template immediately shifts to a different look. Well, for starters, we're not an agency, we are a program. And as a program, we are even more unique because we're in partnership with the 3 other organizations that you see on this screen. The National Western Center Authority, who will program, maintain, and operate the campus once it's complete. The National Western Stock Show, who operates their 3 signature events. And sadly, the stock show is postponed this next January, so we send our thoughts to them about that. And then CSU Spur, who is building 3 new buildings on the campus, and they are under construction. Denver is the land and facility owner, and we are responsible for construction. Go ahead, next slide. So once the campus is complete, we'll have something for everybody. You might take your family here for a picnic on the riverfront, or you might do research, or your friend might do research at Denver Water's lab. It's really going to be cool, and it's going to be something for everyone. Like I always like to say that all of us here in this call, we will go to this campus for some reason, not just for the stock show every year. Next slide. So we've had a long journey to get where we are today, and this really all started in 2012 when Mayor Hancock committed to keeping the stock show in Denver. Fast forward to 2020, and we are about halfway through construction of phases 1 and 2. So you see on the bottom half, it's a little hard to read, but on the bottom half of this slide, it shows all the prime contracts the city has procured over the last 4 years. While the city's procurements are complete, there may be opportunities through prime contractors, our prime contractors, but we will not have details on that until maybe the 1st or 2nd quarter of next year. Next slide. So this is pretty exciting. This is what the site looked like last month. And I want to take this opportunity to really say thank you to so many of you on this call who've been part of this program on various elements. It's really taken a village. Looking at this aerial, we're working just about in every area of the campus. And we're at the tail end of our horizontal work, and we're looking forward to some major milestones starting next year. We've got bridge work, roads, finishing some deep utilities, the riverfront enabling, etc. Next slide. So everybody in this group might be asking, well, what about the livestock and equestrian center as well as the triangle development, which are 8, 9, and 18 on this map, if you can see them. Well, this project is funded through ballot measure 2C, which was an extension of the lodgers and tourism tax. So folks that stay in a hotel and rent a car, things like that. And as you know, due to COVID-19, people are not traveling much right now, which impacts the city's tourism, tax revenues, and entertainment venues. So the city, the National Western Center, and our partners are really assessing the sequencing of construction for the remaining buildings planned for the campus. For example, resequencing may allow portions of the program to accelerate while other portions continue to go through design and conceptual planning as the city recovers economically and determines the appropriate time for us to go to market for the next bond issuance. We're all facing challenging times right now. It's really unbelievable. But as a whole, this project is really helping bolster Denver's economy by employing thousands of people to date, and we are very, very proud of the work that we are doing. Next slide. So with whopping 1 minute left. We will have a networking room. I will be in this room along with our horizontal integrated contractor, Hensel Phelps. Samantha Brooke will also join us and be happy to answer any questions or talk about any of the elements in further detail. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Marcy. Appreciate that. And all of our city agency partners for your presentations. Thank you so much for participating. Now it is time to network. And just special note, in order to access the virtual networking rooms, be sure to place your cursor over the J in join. I know this is kind of an adjustment, but in order for you to pull up the full link, you have to place your cursor there, and that will bring you to whichever room you do select to go into. If you have any issues with the list of solicitations, again, please note Cecilia's email address there and reach out to her and she will send that to you. She can also help with troubleshooting. So please utilize her as a resource. Next slide, please. With that, I want to say thank you to everybody for participating. Special thank you to our wonderful panelists for sharing their keys to success. A lot of great advice. I also encourage you to please stop by their virtual networking room if you have any follow-up questions. And we look forward to seeing you all again in hopefully March. So please stay safe and have a wonderful holiday. And thank you again for your participation.